A man opens his eyes and finds himself alone in a completely white room. The walls, the floor, everything is white, and a single light shines from the ceiling. He looks around, confused and unsettled, wondering what's going on. He notices something strange on one wall. Curious, he sniffs it, then touches it. Not knowing what it is, he presses it. Suddenly, dozens of small childlike angel statues start popping out from the walls all around him. The man stands in shock, observing them closely. Then the statues begin retracting back into the wall, but oddly, only their fun sticks remain sticking out. The man suddenly starts screaming. He realizes he had just touched a private part of one of the wall statues. Horrified, he sniffs his finger, then screams even louder in panic and disgust. He bangs on the wall and desperately cries out for help. He shouts that he wants to go home and questions where he even is. While staring at the wall, he accidentally presses one of the fun sticks, which looks like a button again. This time, a brush drops into the room. He has no idea what's going on. Driven by curiosity, he presses another button. A speaker falls into the room. Confused, he looks around, trying to figure out where it came from. Then he picks it up and yells into it, asking what's happening to him. His voice breaks as he starts apologizing, saying he's sorry for whatever he did, and he just wants to go home. He presses yet another button. Suddenly, a vase drops from above. Startled, he jumps back. Then, cautiously, he peeks into the vase, but sees nothing inside. He keeps asking what's going on. Still curious and eager to explore more, he presses another button on the wall. To his surprise, a pair of chopsticks suddenly drop into the room. Intrigued and amused, he presses the same button again, and more chopsticks fall. Excitement builds up inside him, and soon he's pressing the button repeatedly, laughing softly as each new set drops. The more he presses, the more chopsticks continue to fall, creating a growing pile on the floor. But eventually, the moment wears him out. His energy fades and exhaustion slowly begins to take hold. Then, without meaning to, his hand lands on a different button nearby. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a cart shoots out at high speed and slams directly into his leg. He gasps and lets out a sharp cry of pain, stumbling back and clutching his leg tightly while groaning in agony. His voice fills the room as he yells in distress. In a burst of frustration, the man slams his hand down on yet another button. This time, the wall splits open, and what appears to be a baby's bottom pops out unexpectedly. Without warning, it releases a loud burst of gas directly into his face. Shocked and utterly disgusted, he recoils instantly. He gags violently, nearly losing his balance, and angrily shouts, complaining that the stench is unbearable and revolting beyond words. He continues pressing random buttons out of boredom and curiosity. One after another, bizarre and unexplainable objects start dropping into the room. There's no pattern and logic. The room quickly becomes cluttered with strange, mismatched items. Despite all confusion, he still has no idea what any of it is supposed to mean or why it's happening. In a moment of aimless frustration, he picks up a small ball and hurls it at the wall. By chance, it strikes a button he hadn't noticed before. Immediately, a fresh piece of sushi drops from a wall and lands into the room. His eyes widen as he's hungry. Eagerly, he reaches for it, but then realizes something important is missing, and that is soy sauce. He hesitates. He quickly presses another button, hoping for some sauce to appear. But, instead of soy sauce, more sushi keeps falling from the ceiling. Annoyed, he mutters under his breath, questioning if he'll ever get the sauce. He tries pressing the button again and again, but all that happens is more sushi piling up around him. No sauce, just more sushi. Frustrated and still hungry, he finally gives up and begins eating it without any sauce. The first few bites disappoint him. It's dry, bland, nothing like the sushi he remembers. But as he keeps eating, the flavor starts to settle in. Slowly, he begins to enjoy it. His appetite takes over, and soon he's eating it happily, finishing everything. Just as he takes his final bite and leans back with a sigh, he absent-mindedly presses another button. And to his disbelief, a soy sauce bottle drops into the room. His face twists in disbelief and fury. He grabs the bottle and furiously throws it across the room, shouting that it's far too late now. Feeling drained, he lies down on the floor and presses yet another button, barely expecting anything new. To his surprise, a pair of 3D glasses drops down. Curious, he puts them on, and instantly, the room transforms. Strange glowing pulses fill the air as if the room itself is alive with signals. On the wall, he notices a small baby angel, and it's pointing clearly at its nunu. At first, he stares in confusion, trying to make sense of it, but then realization strikes that it is a clue. Without wasting another second, he jumps to his feet and rushes over to press the button the angel is pointing at. As soon as he touches it, a countdown starts on the opposite wall. Then, from above, a massive butt descends and releases a cloud of gas right into his face. He groans, saying it smells even worse than before, then collapses to the floor. Later, he starts reading manga stories and actually enjoys them. But when he presses a button for Volume 6, he gets Volume 7 instead. He presses again, only to get Volume 8. Annoyed and confused, he presses again and receives Volume 9. Frustrated, he slams another button and suddenly, a wall behind him opens up. A hidden gate is now visible. Since the wall is behind him, he doesn't see it open and thinks the button did nothing. But he senses that something happened. He realizes that might be the way out. He quickly starts searching for the exact button, but he has already forgotten which one it was. He presses a different button and suddenly an African tribesman walks out from one wall and disappears into another. Shocked, the man keeps trying different buttons. One button releases water onto his head. Soaked and miserable, he starts crying. Then, by chance, he presses another button and the wall behind him opens again. He jumps with joy and runs toward it. But before he can reach it, the wall shuts. Angry and desperate, he presses the button again and sprints toward the wall, but still can't reach it in time. This time, he crouches in a running position, facing the wall, and tries to press the button with his foot. Still, the wall closes before he gets there. Then, he picks up a mosquito stick and tries pressing the button from a distance. He runs again, but the wall closes too soon. Next, he ties a string around the button to keep it down, but the wall still shuts just before he arrives. Frustrated and growing desperate, he even tries using the cart to reach the wall, hoping that maybe pushing it from a different angle might work. But that plan fails too. No matter what he does, the wall keeps closing on him. After many repeated clumsy attempts, some involving climbing, pushing, and even shouting in frustration, he finally realizes the real trick, that the wall only remains open while the button is actively being pressed. The moment pressure is lifted, the wall instantly shuts again, cutting off any chance of escape. With this new knowledge, he begins to think more strategically. A new idea forms in his mind. He places vase onto the button, assuming its weight will be enough to keep the button down. But as soon as he lifts his hand, the button springs right back up as the vase simply isn't heavy enough to hold it. Disappointed but not defeated, he stares at the vase for a long moment. Then, a clever thought hits him. What if he fills the vase with water to make it heavier? That way, it might be just enough to keep the button fully pressed. His hope reignites. He quickly activates the water button, expecting the stream to land in the vase. But instead, the water falls directly onto his head. No matter how much he moves, adjusts, or ducks, it follows him like a curse. Desperately, he tries to angle the vase under the falling stream, but only manages to catch a small amount. He keeps trying, running in circles beneath the water, repositioning the vase with precision. But no matter how hard he tries, the amount collected is painfully tiny. After all that effort, the water in the vase is still nowhere near enough to weigh it down. His hopeful plan seems to be falling apart. Then a new idea strikes him. He begins filling the vase with sushi instead. Soon, the vase becomes completely packed and extremely heavy. So heavy that lifting it becomes a real struggle. He tries to scoop some sushi out with his hand, but the vase's opening is too narrow. To fix this, he grabs a pair of chopsticks and starts removing sushi one piece at a time. After spending a lot of time, he finally manages to lighten the vase enough to carry it. With great difficulty, he lifts it and carries it toward the button. But now, in the middle of all the chaos, he completely forgets which button was controlling the wall in the first place. He stands still for a moment, trying hard to recall, his eyes trying very hard to remember. Panicked, he pressed a button at random, hoping to stumble upon the right one. Suddenly, the same African tribesman from before appears once more from a wall. This time, the tribesman stumbles into the vase by mistake. It tips over and crashes onto the floor. The man is stunned. Desperation kicks in again. He quickly begins scooping piles of sushi and stacking them directly on top of the button, hoping their collective weight will be enough to hold it down. But no luck. The button remains stubbornly unpressed. Not ready to give up, he grabs a roll of tape and starts wrapping layer after layer over the button, trying to stick it in a pressed position. But even that fails. As if mocking him, the tape peels back with each attempt. Growing more frantic, he grabs a flimsy plastic plate, tapes it tightly across the button, and presses down all along the floor. This time, it seems to work. The wall stays open, just enough for him to approach the doorway. But just as he reaches the threshold, the plate shifts. The button slips free, and the wall slams shut with a brutal thud right against his back. The pain is instant and sharp. He screams in agony, crushed both physically and emotionally. He takes painkillers and falls asleep. When he wakes up, his back still hurts badly. As he picks up his toothbrush to brush his teeth, he realizes it has no paste. So, he presses another button. A rope suddenly drops down from the ceiling. He realizes that he can use the rope hanging from above to swing across, press the button mid-air, and then make it through the wall before it shuts. Energized, he pulls the rope down, carefully times his swing, and with just the right momentum, he manages to hit the button during his swing. The wall opens. Without wasting a second, he makes it through and finally steps inside the wall. Inside, he finds a single locked door. He immediately tries to turn the handle, but it doesn't move. It's clearly locked tight. That's when he notices the outline of a keyhole. Realizing he needs a key, panic starts to rise. He turns around and quickly moves into the room again before the wall can close. This time again, it hits his back hard. He falls forward, groaning in pain. In a rage, he kicks the wall with all his strength. Unexpectedly, the impact triggers a hidden button near the floor. A small hatch in the wall opens, and to his surprise, a shiny key emerges, floating in the air. His eyes widen as he's certain this is the key he needs to open the door. But then reality hits him that he wasn't paying attention to which button caused the key to appear. Desperately, he starts pressing buttons at random, hoping to summon it again. Instead, a vicious-looking dog suddenly bursts from a panel in the wall and starts barking loudly, baring its teeth and growling straight at him. Terrified, he stumbles backward. He tries another button, but the same snarling dog appears again, barking more aggressively. The man freezes, his eyes welling up with tears. Completely overwhelmed, he starts to cry, helpless and exhausted. Finally, he presses a different button, and the key appears again, but only for a few seconds before vanishing. To mark the right button, he decides to place a piece of sushi on it. But as he brings a sushi piece closer, he forgets the button's exact spot. He presses the wrong button once again, and the scary dog returns. He's terrified. He presses another button, and finally the key is revealed again. He quickly places a sushi piece on that button to mark it. A new idea sparks in his mind.
Rope comes out!
He plans to use the rope to first grab the key, then swing toward the door and escape. He tries swinging on the rope, but soon realizes he can't reach both walls that way. Just then, he spots a plunger that had appeared earlier from a button. He gets a new idea that he'll use the plunger to climb the wall by sticking it like suction cups. He pulls down the rope, presses the key button, grabs the key, and then finally presses the door wall button to enter the hidden space. He reaches the locked door, inserts the key, and feels hopeful, but the door still won't open. He then notices a 3-digit lock on it. Disappointed and overwhelmed, he begins to cry. As he steps back out, the wall once again slams into his back. Now furious, he throws the plunger toward the opposite wall. At that moment, the African tribesman appears again and walks away. That's when a thought hits him that there's a number written on the tribesman's head. Maybe that number is the password for the lock. Using the rope to support himself, he starts entering digits one by one into the lock. On the third try, it finally clicks open. He pushes the door with some force, but just as he manages to do that, the wall shuts again. There isn't enough space for him to slip through in time, so he gets trapped inside once more. He tries hard to open the door, but the tight space makes it impossible. Feeling hopeless, he sits down and starts crying. Memories of his old room flood his mind that it was a place full of entertainment, comfort, and joy. Now he's stuck in a tiny space with nothing to do except sit. Just then, he feels a breeze on his face. Curious, he looks around and notices the air is coming from one of the walls. As he investigates, he realizes the wall beside him is fake. He pushes it, and it slowly moves back, revealing a dark hallway. Without hesitation, he runs full speed into the pitch-black hall and ends up in another room. Inside this room, he sees statues again, but this time they are of adult angels. As before, the statues suddenly slide into the walls, and the room's entrance seals shut. Lights focus in the center of the room, and he finds himself struck again. Frustrated to be trapped in yet another room, he approaches a button. As soon as he presses it, escargot, who is fighting in the arena, magically stretches its neck and knocks out his opponent with a headbutt. Excited, the man presses the button again, because apparently nothing is happening in the room, but on the other side, escargot knocks out another opponent with a headbutt, winning the match. But in the man's room, nothing changes. Only a single light glows in the center. He keeps pressing the button repeatedly, hoping something will happen. Each time he does, the escargot's neck stretches again, and he begins knocking out everyone around him, even his own son. Eventually, he starts smashing his head into the bell, all because the man won't stop pressing the button. Then he presses another button, and a singer in Los Angeles performing a concert suddenly starts breathing fire from his mouth. Pressing a different button causes a magician's truck to fail. Next, he presses another button that makes a man in China starts barking on his own dogs. After pressing all these buttons, nothing happens in his room, so he moves toward the middle light. Looking up, he sees no ceiling as the sky is open. Using the buttons, he begins climbing the wall. As he presses more buttons, events in the world start changing like a penguin falls. Flowers bloom suddenly. A baby elephant dies. An astronaut hits a rock on the moon, a car accident happens, and buildings collapse. The higher he climbs, the more the world's events are affected by his button presses. As he keeps climbing higher, his hair starts growing longer. Then a moment comes when he begins to float upward in the air. While floating, many changes happen across the world through his actions. He continues to rise until he reaches a new room. Inside this room, a map of the world appears behind him, and in front of him on the wall is a huge nunu. This chapter is called The Future. He decides to move forward and prepares to press it. This is where the story ends.